What do you do when the family you've tried so hard to fit into turns their back on you, leaving you with nothing but betrayal and heartbreak? The words my mother-in-law spoke echoed in my mind, leaving me in stunned silence. "You need to leave," she said coldly, her gaze like ice. "Birch and Maple are coming for the birth, and we don't need you anymore." I could hardly believe what I was hearing. After all the years of trying to be accepted, I was being told to leave without warning. The shock of it all left me speechless, my heart breaking as I realized that I was no longer part of the family. Everything I'd worked for, every sacrifice, seemed meaningless now. I stood there frozen, in disbelief at what my mother-in-law had just said. "Since Birch and Maple are returning for a hometown childbirth, please vacate," she stated, her voice as cold as ever. "Her eldest son and his wife are due in 3 days." "Me? Leave?" I asked, still processing what I was hearing. I felt confused, shocked, and above all, hurt. "Yes," she replied, her gaze icy. "We don't need another mother figure anymore. You've been redundant for a while now. Birch and his family will be living here, so make sure you're gone by tomorrow." My heart sank. Never had I imagined this day would come, the day they would tell me to leave. Since marrying Oak, I had always known that I wasn't fully accepted into the family, but I had never expected them to be so direct in their rejection. "You barren failure," my mother-in-law snapped. "You were allowed to experience raising a child. Be grateful. We owe you nothing anymore. It seems like Oak is tired of you too." I struggled to swallow. "What's Oak to?" I began, my voice trembling. But the words caught in my throat. It was clear now. This wasn't just about me. This was a plot between my mother-in-law and Birch. If it wasn't, then why would my husband stay silent? If this was their decision, then it seemed foolish to continue pretending everything was normal. Perhaps it was time to walk away from it all. But what about the house? What would happen to it now that they had made their choice? It was no longer my concern. Let them face the consequences of their actions. I, Willow Thompson, am 45 years old. I had been living with my husband and mother-in-law in a popular area close to the station, a location with excellent access to the city center. When we were house hunting, Oak, who had recently been promoted to a managerial position, insisted on finding a spacious apartment. The rent was high, but the space, the rooms, it all seemed worth it. My husband, Oak, was 8 years older than me and a divorcee. We met through a mutual friend, and I was comforted by his warm, caring nature traits that only seemed to deepen with age. After dating for 2 years, we decided to marry. Even after I disclosed that I couldn't have children due to a past illness, Oak's affection never wavered. Likewise, I didn't let his past, the fact that he had a son, Birch, from his previous marriage, deter me. "I'm truly sorry to ask you, someone who has never been married, to live with my parents and son," Oak had said to me when we first discussed our future. "I won't make you suffer. I'll ensure you're happy." To make sure I felt comfortable, Oak suggested we move into a spacious apartment so I could have my own room. "Birch, turning 10 this year, won't need much care with my mom around," he said. "You don't have to push yourself." After Oak's divorce, his parents helped with childcare, but a few years later, when Oak's father passed away, his mother became Birch's primary caretaker. From the moment I met Birch, he barely made eye contact with me. I thought it might be a sign of shyness, or that he was approaching a difficult age. I didn't worry. As long as they accepted me as a member of the household, I was content. My mother-in-law had always been quiet and refined. When I visited to formally introduce myself after our engagement, she treated me with kindness and politeness, making me think we would get along fine living together. But now, everything had changed. The reality of their rejection hit me all at once. "I'll continue to prepare the meals as I have been. Oak comes home late, so it's okay if we eat at different times, right, Willow? I'll leave the cleaning and laundry to you, all right? Let's work well together." After getting married, I switched from a full-time employee at the pharmacy to a part-timer due to the division of household chores. I started work a bit later in the morning, so I wouldn't get home until nearly 8 p.m. Dinner was always ready when I arrived, making me feel good about living together. My mother-in-law and Birch usually had dinner before I got home, so I was always eating alone. Even after getting married, I sometimes felt a sense of, is this it? But I came to accept that this was our family style. From the beginning, my mother-in-law never really liked me and didn't consider me part of the family at all. Birch, the school's activity day is before summer, right? When is it? We're all going to see you sometime. After getting married, I tried to break the ice with Birch, who still hadn't warmed up to me. No, I mean, as Birch faltered, my mother-in-law interjected, "We'll go there. Just Oak and me, Willow. You don't need to worry about it." I misunderstood her words, thinking she was just being considerate. "I can get the day off work. Let's all go together." "You don't need that. You're Oak's wife, and Birch's family has always been just Oak and me." I was quite shocked. When I brought it up with my husband at night, he said, "Mom's been clinging to Birch. She probably thinks you're trying to take him away. I'll talk to her eventually." I began to join as a mother at the activity day, but Birch and I rarely spend any time together outside of school events. Sometimes I could tell Birch wanted to say something, but my mother-in-law always cut in between us. I later found out that she had been bad-mouthing me to Birch. Willow said she could be happy with Oak if Birch weren't around. "She's a terrible person. Dad must be deceived by her too." If a boy in his formative years hears such things, it wouldn't be strange for him to distrust me. It was a sickening story, but at that time, I hadn't imagined that my mother-in-law could do such a thing. After graduating high school, Birch immediately moved in with his girlfriend and left home as soon as he started college. A year after he started working, he married her without a ceremony. After Birch moved out, I couldn't help but notice how dramatically my mother-in-law's behavior changed. Surprisingly, she stopped doing any housework altogether. It was as though her sole focus shifted to picking on me. She stopped cooking, something she used to do without fail, and instead, she would sit at the dining table, waiting for me to come home. The moment I entered the house, there was no time to sit down and relax. I'd head straight to the kitchen to prepare dinner. "You're really inefficient. At this rate, it'll take you all night," she remarked as I struggled with the cooking. I wasn't particularly skilled in the kitchen, having relied on her for meal preparations for so long. Every time I tried, she would taste my food and immediately complain, "This tastes awful." "I'm sorry. I'm trying my best," I would say, feeling a wave of frustration. "You're astonishingly tone-deaf when it comes to flavors, Willow. It's a good thing Birch never had to eat this. How terrible," she would say, the sarcasm laced in her words. If she was so displeased, I thought, why not make it herself? But it seemed her purpose was less about the meal and more about criticizing me. It didn't stop there. She began nitpicking things I never had to handle before, like cleaning and laundry. "Why are there so many wrinkles on the laundry? You have to vacuum every nook and cranny. You really can't do anything right? Didn't your family teach you anything?" She sighed, as if I was the cause of her problems. Hearing her insult me, especially about my family, made my blood boil. I clenched my fists in frustration, but I tried to hold it all in. "I don't know how you won over Oak, but I can't see much charm in you as a woman," she'd add. And then, always finishing with the same line, "If you hadn't come, Birch would have never left." I started to realize that there was something deeper going on with her, perhaps the hole left by Birch moving out. Maybe it was what they called empty nest syndrome. I convinced myself that if taking out her frustration on me made her feel better, I could endure it. But everything changed after one particular event. The event that shifted everything was Birch's announcement that his wife, Maple, was pregnant. My mother-in-law's excitement was overwhelming, something I had never seen before. "It's Birch's baby! It's going to be adorable! Yeah, he'll be my first grandchild," she beamed. Watching them both rejoice, I shared in their happiness. But my mother-in-law's excitement was beyond anything I had ever imagined. It seemed even more intense because Birch had asked her, "Grandma, can Maple have the baby at your place? Maple's family lives an hour away, and since they have no one else here, they've turned to us for help with the preparations." Of course, My mother-in-law could never say no to Birch. Once the news sank in, her joy skyrocketed, and the phone calls from Birch started to become frequent. The next day, she dove into preparations with zeal, cleaning out Birch's room, preparing bedding, and even making a list of baby items. It was as if she had caught some kind of grandchild fever. Naturally, I found myself swept up in the madness too. When I came home from work one evening, she had already started organizing everything. "Willow, I vacuumed Birch's room, so now you need to wipe the floors, clean the windows, and please wax them too. This weekend, we're going to the department store to look at baby cribs," she said, her tone filled with the kind of command I had come to dread. It felt as though I had been replaced in every way, first by Birch, then by Maple, and now by this impending new arrival. But this time, I wasn't just a passive participant. I could feel my patience wearing thin, but I chose to continue doing what I had to do, quietly keeping my thoughts to myself, trying to find a way through the chaos. Cleaning and waxing at night was tough, especially after a long day at work. If I even thought about cutting corners, I'd be told to do it over again. Moreover, my mother-in-law started asking for money, and before I knew it, the house was overflowing with baby stuff. "Willow, I need you to withdraw some money tomorrow. There are things I want to get ready for the baby." "Again? Isn't it wasteful to prepare so much when Maple and Birch haven't even arrived? Shouldn't we wait and choose together with them?" I had wanted to meet my mother-in-law's requests, but I was troubled by the relentless spending. "How can you be so cold? It's Oak's grandchild." "Oh, that's right. You're not related to Birch by blood. You don't care, do you?" "That's not true. Please don't say that. I just thought Maple might want to pick things out herself." "When do you want to choose things for your own child?" Perhaps because I was making a valid point, my mother-in-law glared at me sharply. I immediately thought I had gone too far, but it was too late. Without a word, my mother-in-law went back to her room looking upset. I did reflect on it, but I was also shocked to be spoken about in such a way regarding my infertility. The next morning, my mother-in-law didn't come out of her room, perhaps still angry. Oak had a 3-day business trip starting that day, so he just called out, "I'm leaving," through her door. "Please don't throw cold water on Mom's great-grandchild fever. She hasn't been the same since Birch left. You were worried too, right?" "I was, but if we spend all our money like this, we'll have nothing left when Birch and Maple arrive, right?" Oak's face immediately turned sour. "Are you saying my earnings are too low?" "That's not what I'm saying at all." Oak just said, "Fine," and left with a look of dissatisfaction. Discussions about money always end up like this. Since I'm the one managing our finances, I can't help but think ahead. Of course, there's a reason for that. We've been married for 13 years. Oak has provided me with a very comfortable life. "Your part-time income is for you to enjoy," Oak had always told me. So, I saved everything beyond what I needed for myself. Even though it's in my name, I consider it our shared property. But then, Oak's company's performance declined, and over the last 5 years, his salary has dropped to 2/3 of what it was when we first got married. While there's uncertainty whether his company will last until his retirement, he doesn't seem to consider changing jobs. For appearances in front of my mother-in-law, my husband couldn't give up his title as a department head. Now I'm the one paying the rent, and he covers the living expenses. We've kept this from my mother-in-law to save my husband's face. That day I left work a bit early to apologize to my mother-in-law. When I got home, she was already sitting at the dining table waiting for me. "I'm sorry about yesterday. I may have gone too far," I admitted. But my mother-in-law remained silent. Instead, she blindsided me with unexpected news. "Birch and Maple are returning for a hometown childbirth. Please vacate," my mother-in-law declared in a chilly tone. The eldest son and his wife were set to arrive in 3 days. Perplexed and stunned, I asked, "I have to leave?" She affirmed, "Yes, we don't need another mother figure anymore. You've been redundant for a while. Birch and his family will be living here. Make sure you're out by tomorrow." The realization hit me hard. I had never truly been accepted into the family. Since the day I got married, I had always been treated as an outsider. The news of Birch's return for the birth made it clear. "You barren failure," my mother-in-law continued. "You were allowed to experience raising a child. Be grateful. We have no obligation to support you anymore. It seems like Oak is tired of you too. Maybe he's getting along well with a new girlfriend by now." Shocked, I gulped down my saliva, contemplating the possibility of my relationship with my husband growing distant. Could this be a trap I fell into? Thinking my husband would never, and I remembered that up until a year ago, he never had overnight business trips. "All right, I'll get it done tonight," I said, grabbing my bag and leaving the house to walk aimlessly. I needed to calm my severely shaken heart. Worried about my husband, I tried calling his cell phone. Despite my mother-in-law's words, I still wanted to talk to him, but he didn't answer no matter how many times I rang. I dialed his office only to learn that he had taken a couple of days off. My mother-in-law's words began to ring more true. Could he really be on a trip with another woman? Dark thoughts crowded my mind, and I found myself overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down my face. Staggering along, I noticed the tavern behind the station, a place we used to frequent when we first moved here. "It's still here," I thought as I entered. "Welcome." The tavern owner's expression clouded briefly upon seeing me, then he nodded in recognition. "Hey, long time no see." "It's been about 8 years. I used to come here a lot with my husband," I said. "Yes, it's been a while. I remember you," he replied. I couldn't help but smile, feeling a sense of relief. "Can I get a beer and a mixed plate of grilled chicken, please?" I asked the owner. He, as usual, was a man of few words, but nodded in response. I took a sip of the cold beer, letting its chill settle in, while savoring the grilled chicken in front of me. As I relaxed, I pulled out my phone, and the screensaver flashed a photo of Birch on his 18th birthday, looking sharp in the slim suit we'd picked out together. A pang of longing hit me as I wished we could have been closer as a family. The beer helped wash down the heaviness in my chest, taking the sting of the day's heartache with it. Could I really leave tomorrow? I thought to myself, my mind running through the next steps. I pulled up moving companies on my phone, booked one for the following day, and saved 2 junk buyers for later. Changing the screensaver felt like a cleansing act, the image on my phone no longer tainting my thoughts. The food and beer tasted incredible, but the weight of everything was still there. I decided I'd sort things out when I got home. As I was leaving the tavern, a voice called out to me from behind. A young waitress, breathless from running, caught up with me. "Excuse me, are you Mrs. Thompson?" she asked, confirming my identity when I glanced at her confused expression. She dropped the bombshell that shook me to my core. My husband was having an affair with one of their employees. We exchanged contact details, and she promised to keep me updated. Her words echoed my mother-in-law's earlier accusations. Instead of feeling devastated, a sharp and unrelenting anger rose within me. It was time to face this head-on. I didn't waste another second. I immediately booked the moving company for the following day and made up my mind to leave that day. Whether it was a conspiracy involving my mother-in-law and Birch, or my husband's betrayal was his own doing, I didn't owe him anything anymore. Back home, I began packing without hesitation, and by midnight, I had everything ready to go. The movers arrived exactly on time. I made my intentions clear. I was leaving for good. They took everything I had bought, erasing every trace of me from that house. My mother-in-law panicked, but I stood firm. "I'm taking everything I bought. You can start fresh tomorrow," I said, suppressing a laugh at the absurdity of it all. She complained loudly, but there was nothing she could do. All that was left behind were piles of baby gear and her old dresser pieces of her life that predated our marriage. "Well then, I bid you farewell. There should be no trace of me left. Enjoy your life with Oak, Birch, and his family," I declared before walking out, leaving her stunned behind me. I left the keys on the table as I exited the house. The movers took my things, and I stayed with a colleague for a while, feeling a strange sense of completion. That night, I slept soundly for the first time in a long while. A week passed before I heard from my husband. I couldn't help but wonder if he was scheming with that other woman. While he hesitated, I received a call from the young woman at the tavern. "I got a photo. I'll send it to you," she said. The photo showed my husband chatting up a much older woman at the tavern. Perhaps out of a sense of justice, the young woman must have followed them after they closed. Attached was another photo, this time of the two of them entering a hotel. I stared at the photos, feeling a cold emptiness wash over me. Even now, the cheating continues, I thought bitterly. Any last flicker of affection I had for my husband faded in an instant. I asked for the woman's name and had her address looked up. The next day, armed with all the evidence of the affair, my husband called. "Willow, where are you? Birch and his family are here too. Aren't you going to come home soon?" "No, I'm not coming back. Your mom told me to leave. I'm done here. Birch and his family are going to live with you now, right?" I knew it. Birch and his family were out of money and looking to crash at our place. I heard that after graduating from a vocational school, they've been hopping from job to job and now they're working part-time. "No, I want you back, Willow. I went to the pharmacy and they said you're off for a bit." "Oh, played to crash, yeah, I'm fine. So don't worry about me. Your mom and Birch didn't like me, right? I reckon they're happy to have the place to themselves without me around." My snide comment left my husband speechless. He knew his mother and Birch never accepted me as family, but pretended not to see it. "Well, all right, I have something to say, so I'll come back there." Once my husband replied with a relieved please in his voice. Days later, I returned to the house for the first time in a long while. Some new pieces of furniture and appliances were inside. When Birch and Maple saw me, they just nodded from their seats on the sofa without getting up. As I took a seat, my mother-in-law glared at me with a scary look on her face. The atmosphere was tense, and just as I thought to get things done and leave quickly, Birch spoke up. "What are you doing here? You took everything from the house. What kind of monster does that? Dad's been supporting you and you've had it easy." I sighed. "I took everything because I paid for it. I wanted to remove all traces of me just as you wanted, right?" "That's crazy. There's no way you could afford all that just working part-time at the pharmacy." My husband said. When I glanced at him, he started talking as if he'd resigned himself. "We've been getting by on what Willow and I both make for a little while now. Then the stuff you took should be both yours instead of just yours." Instead of my speechless husband, I decided to speak up. Oak's company has been doing poorly, and his salary plummeted. That's why for the past 5 years I've been covering what's missing, but that wasn't enough, and now I'm the one paying our rent. My mother-in-law looked at my husband with surprise. "I'm not just a part-timer. I'm a part-time pharmacist, and the pay is quite good. I'm making more than Oak now." At my words, my husband awkwardly looked away. My mother-in-law's eyes were frantically shifting between my husband and me. "From now on, Birch, you'll be paying the rent. You're going to live here, right? After all the help your grandma was given, it's time for you to take care of her." Birch looked at me with a shocked expression when I dropped the news. Suddenly, he said, "Rent? How much is it?" "It's $5,600. Good luck. Since it seems my role as a mother is over, I don't have an obligation to take care of you anymore. Pull yourself together. You're going to be a father soon." Birch murmured with a shake of his head. "That's impossible." It was Maple who raised her voice upon hearing this. "Wait, weren't we supposed to live here for free, covering rent and living expenses?" I almost burst out laughing. "Don't worry, Maple. You can move to a cheaper place. Oak still makes a decent salary." Hearing this, Maple's face relaxed a bit. "Oh, since I'll be leaving, you Oak's life might still get tough with your mistress, huh?" At that, Maple finally broke down in tears. It was my husband who panicked. "What? What are you talking about?" Maple spoke up, her voice steady but laced with bitterness. "Oh, your mother told me about the new woman. I suppose it's time to end my role as a wife, too." My husband must have thought there was no proof. It hadn't even been 10 days since I left, yet here we were, already facing this. "Wouldn't that hurt Ivy if she heard you?" I added. my tone sharp. But Maple just waved it off. I'll get in touch about that later. When Ivy's name slipped out of my mouth, I saw Oak flinch. He realized I knew everything. His face flushed and he sank his head into his hands. "This is not the time to talk about divorce papers," he muttered, his voice barely audible. "Well then, I'll be leaving now. Please, speak to me through a lawyer." With that, I grabbed my bag, ready to walk away. Oak and Birch said nothing, both silent as I made my way toward the door. But then, my mother-in-law's voice rose. She stood up suddenly, slamming her hands on the table. "What the hell? It's all your fault. Our home is in shambles." Her words stung, and I couldn't help but feel my temper flare. "It was you who told me to leave. It was you who said Oak had another woman. You were the one who interfered with my relationship with Birch. All of this is on you." I could feel the heat of frustration rising in my chest. If only I had been more assertive with Birch, perhaps things would have been different. "Birch has nothing to do with this," she shot back. "It's time for you to step up, Oak. He's going through a hard time. You should support him as his wife. Take responsibility as a family member." Her words were like a slap in the face. If she hadn't pushed Birch back into the picture, if she hadn't hinted at Oak's affair, I would still be here, supporting Oak, believing in our family. I turned to Oak, the man who had once been my world. "Where are you, Birch? Why are you still here? It's all your mother's fault." My mother-in-law's lips tightened, her body trembling with frustration. I couldn't bear to stay a moment longer. I slipped past her, leaving the room without another word. Oak agreed to the divorce more quickly than I expected. It seemed my determination had worn him down, and he couldn't argue with the overwhelming evidence of his affair. Shortly after, Birch and Maple moved back to their own apartment, leaving my mother-in-law behind. Oak seemed to be considering remarriage, but Ivy was furious over the alimony and his request that she live with his mother. From what I heard, they were even discussing putting my mother-in-law in a care facility. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but in a way, it made sense. After all the love she'd poured into her son and grandson, it felt sad to think they were ready to abandon her now. Perhaps she had outlived her purpose in their eyes. If my mother-in-law had kept quiet back then and allowed things to unfold naturally, maybe I would still be living in that house, even after the divorce. Birch sent me an apology letter. He wrote about how, as a child, he had longed to be spoiled more, how he couldn't talk to me because of his grandmother's dislike for me, and how happy he was when I attended his school events. It made me think. Maybe I should have reached out to him more. Maybe our relationship could have been different. Despite everything, I silently wished for Birch to find happiness in his life. I've returned to my work as a pharmacist and found an apartment close to my job. I couldn't bear to keep the furniture and appliances I had taken with me, so I had them picked up and disposed of by a junk removal service. Now, without my mother-in-law's constant interference, I feel a sense of peace. For the first time in a long while, I'm living for myself. I want to be happy, not for anyone else, but for me. Is family really worth all the pain? Can loyalty ever outweigh the personal cost? In this story, Willow is confronted by her mother-in-law's harsh rejection, leading her to make the difficult decision to leave her home and start over. The reality is harsh. Willow has always been an outsider in her own marriage, constantly undermined by her mother-in-law, who manipulates situations to keep control. After years of enduring this emotional abuse, she finally realizes that her peace and happiness are more important than staying in a toxic situation. From a psychological perspective, Willow's actions are understandable. She spent years trying to fit in, only to find that no matter how hard she worked, she was never truly accepted by her husband's family. When faced with betrayal both from her mother-in-law and possibly from Oak, Willow chooses herself. It's a hard decision, but one that could be considered an act of self-preservation. Should she have fought harder for her marriage, even after the emotional manipulation from her mother-in-law? Could she have found a way to repair the relationship with Oak, or was leaving the only viable choice? On the other hand, was it the right thing for Willow to take everything she had paid for, even if it seemed justified in her mind? Or did it cross a moral line? What do you think, everyone? Was Willow right to leave everything behind? Or should she have tried to rebuild the relationship with Oak and his family? Do you believe some relationships are simply beyond repair? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going, and stay tuned for more stories like this.
I stared at the bank statement in my trembling hands, the numbers swimming before my eyes. 27 years of blind trust shattered in an instant. The secret account my mother had been maintaining in my name contained over $380,000, money I'd earned but never knew existed. My name is Margaret, and until this morning, I thought I was doing okay, managing my finances under my mother's guidance. Now I know I've been living a carefully orchestrated lie. "Margaret, honey, are you home?" Mom's voice echoed through the house, making me jump. I quickly folded the statement and shoved it into my jacket pocket. "In the study," I called back, trying to keep my voice steady. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd found the statement while searching for a stapler in her desk drawer. The same desk where she'd sat me down countless times to lecture me about financial responsibility. Mom appeared in the doorway, perfectly put together as always. "What are you doing in here?" "Just needed a stapler," I said, holding up the object like a shield. "For work documents." She smiled, that knowing smile that had always made me feel safe, but now made my skin crawl. "You know you can use my office anytime, sweetie. I've always said that transparency is important in this family." I almost choked on the hypocrisy. "Thanks, Mom." I gathered my papers, careful to keep the statement hidden. "I should get going. Meeting Soleil for coffee." "Oh?" Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "I thought you were trying to save money this month." "It's just coffee," I said, the familiar guilt creeping in before anger pushed it aside. My own money. She'd been controlling my own money. "Well, remember what we talked about regarding unnecessary expenses?" She adjusted a picture frame on her desk. Me at my college graduation, beaming while she stood beside me, one hand firmly on my shoulder. "Maybe Soleil could come here instead." "No, I need to get out." I grabbed my bag, nearly knocking over a chair in my haste to leave. "Don't wait up." 20 minutes later, I sat across from Soleil at our favorite coffee shop, sliding the statement across the table. My cousin's eyes widened as she read the numbers. "Holy shit, Mags." She looked up at me, her coffee forgotten. "All this time?" "Every paycheck since I started working." She's been skimming off the top, managing my money. I made air quotes with my fingers, telling me I need to budget better, that I'm not responsible enough to handle my own finances. "While sitting on nearly 400 grand of your money." Soleil's voice rose, drawing looks from nearby tables. She lowered it again. "That's not management, that's theft." "She probably thinks she's protecting me," I said, surprising myself by defending her. "Old habits die hard. You know how she is." "Stop it." Soleil reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "Stop making excuses for her. This is abuse, Margaret. Financial abuse." The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd spent my whole life believing my mother knew best, that her strict control was love. Now everything looked different, tainted. I found something else, too. I pulled out my phone, showing Soleil the emails I'd discovered. She's been intercepting my bank statements, credit card offers, everything. She has complete access to my accounts, but I can barely see my own balance without her hovering over my shoulder. "What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath, my hand steady now as I picked up my coffee. "I'm going to take it all back, not just the money, my life, my independence, everything. But I need to be smart about it." "You need a lawyer," Soleil said immediately. "I need more than that. I need a plan." I pulled out a notebook, flipping to a clean page. "Mom's always preaching about the importance of careful planning, right? Well, I learned from the best." Soleil's smile turned wicked. "Count me in, whatever you need." As we began plotting, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Remember to save your receipt from the coffee shop for your expense tracking." I showed it to Soleil, who rolled her eyes. "She has no idea what's coming, does she?" "No," I said, closing the message without responding. "But she will." I'm done being the good, obedient daughter she can manipulate. It's time she learned that her perfect little girl has grown up, and she's not going to like what she sees. I opened my notebook and started writing, each word a brick in the foundation of my independence. The game of control and submission that had defined our relationship was about to change dramatically. And for once, I would be the one making the rules. An untraceable account. Devin leaned back in his leather office chair, studying me over his reading glasses. Margaret, what exactly are we dealing with here? I slid the bank statement across his desk. His eyebrows shot up as he reviewed the numbers. Then he let out a low whistle. Your mother did this. Every penny I've earned since I was 16, I said. She's been protecting me from my own money. Soleil, who'd insisted on coming with me to the lawyer's office, spoke up from her chair beside me. We need to know what options Margaret has. Legally speaking. Devin removed his glasses, polishing them with his tie as he thought. Technically, if your mother had authorization to manage these accounts, which she made me give her when I was 18, I interrupted. She said it was the responsible thing to do. Then she hasn't broken any laws. Morally questionable, absolutely, but legally. He spread his hands apologetically. I don't care about pressing charges, I said. I just want control of my own life, my own money. Now that's something we can work with. Devin pulled out a legal pad. First step, we set up new accounts at a different bank. Your mother won't have access or even know they exist. She checks everything, I warned. My mail, my email, my phone records. Then we go digital, Soleil suggested. Paperless statements, secure email address she doesn't know about. Exactly, Devin agreed. And I know someone who can help with the next part. A business consultant named Hector. He specializes in startups and investment strategies. My phone buzzed. Mom's daily check-in text. Don't forget we're having dinner with the Petersons tonight. Wear something professional. I ignored it. Tell me more about Hector. 2 hours later, I sat across from Hector at a small cafe 3 towns over, far from my mother's usual haunts. He had kind eyes and a quick smile that put me at ease immediately. So, he said, spreading out some documents between us, Devin tells me you're interested in starting a business. I have skills, I said. I've been managing social media campaigns for other companies for years, but my mother always said striking out on my own would be too risky. The biggest risk in business is letting fear stop you, Hector replied. Show me what you've got. I pulled out my portfolio, walking him through campaigns I'd created. His eyes lit up as he flipped through the pages. This is impressive work, he said. Why are you still doing this for other people when you could be building your own empire? Because until now, I didn't have access to startup capital. I smiled. But things have changed. How much are we talking about? I can move about 50,000 without raising suspicion. For now. Hector nodded, scribbling notes. That's more than enough to get started. We'll need to move fast, though. Set up an LLC, create a business plan. Margaret. A familiar voice made my blood run cold. I turned to see Mrs. Peterson, my mother's bridge partner, standing by our table. Mrs. Peterson, what a surprise. I forced a smile, casually sliding my portfolio under some papers. I thought you were working today, she said, eyes darting between me and Hector. Just a quick lunch meeting, I said smoothly. Client consultation. Oh, how lovely. Will we see you at dinner tonight? Of course, wouldn't miss it. After she left, Hector raised an eyebrow. That could be a problem. She'll tell my mother she saw me here, I agreed. But it might work in our favor. Let Mom think I'm just taking on extra freelance work. It'll keep her from looking too closely at what we're really doing. Smart, he said. But we need to be careful. One wrong move could ruin everything. I finished. I know, but I'm done being careful. I'm done being controlled. Then let's make this happen. Hector pulled out his laptop. By the time your mother figures out what's going on, you'll be too established for her to stop you. My phone buzzed again. Mrs. Peterson says she saw you at lunch. We need to talk about taking on extra work without consulting me first. I showed Hector the message. He shook his head. You're really ready for this? Once we start, there's no going back. I thought about the hidden account, the years of manipulation, the constant control. I'm not going back, I'm going forward, full speed ahead. Then let's give your mother something to really talk about. Hector opened a new document and typed, Empowered Digital Marketing, LLC. Looking at those words, I felt a thrill of excitement and fear. My first real step toward freedom. My mother had taught me everything about control. Now it was time to show her just how well I'd learned those lessons. 3 new clients this week. I high-fived Hector across our shared workspace in the co-working facility. We'd chosen this location carefully. Modern, professional, and most importantly, 20 miles from my mother's usual territory. And that tech startup wants to triple their social media budget, Hector added, sliding a contract across the desk. They loved your campaign strategy. I signed the paperwork with a flourish, savoring the moment. 2 months into our venture, and Empower Digital was already exceeding our projections. My phone lit up with Mom's face. I let it go to voicemail. You can't avoid her forever, Hector said, but he was smiling. How are you explaining all these client meetings? Freelance work for my old agency. She's not happy about it, but she can't argue with the extra money flowing into the account she monitors. I grinned. Of course, she has no idea about our other accounts. The phone rang again. This time, I answered. Margaret, where are you? It's nearly dinner time. Working late, Mom. Big project due tomorrow. Again, that's the 3rd time this week. I'm worried you're taking on too much. Why don't you come home and let me look over your budget? Maybe we can find a way for you to work less. I caught Hector rolling his eyes and had to stifle a laugh. I'm fine, Mom. Really. I'll grab something here. Well, at least tell me where you are. I can bring you a proper dinner. No need. I'll see you later. I hung up before she could protest. Speaking of dinner, Hector said, our potential investors are confirmed for tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at La Maison. My stomach fluttered with nervous excitement. If this meeting went well, we could expand faster than we'd planned. Did you send them our proposal? This morning. They're particularly interested in your innovative approach to. The office door burst open, making us both jump. Mom stood in the doorway, her face flushed. Margaret Elizabeth Emerson, I tracked your phone's location. She stepped inside, taking in the modern office space, the whiteboards covered in strategy notes, and Hector's startled expression. What is this place, and who is this man? I stood up slowly, my heart pounding, but my voice steady. Mom, this is Hector, my business partner. Business partner. She spat the words like they tasted bad. What are you talking about? I'm talking about my company, Empower Digital Marketing. I gestured to the logo on the wall. We've been operational for 2 months. Mom's face went from red to white. 2 months? You started a company without telling me, without consulting me? I'm 27 years old, Mom. I don't need your consultation or permission. But the risk, the liability, the taxes. She turned to Hector. Who are you really? What are your credentials? Hector stood, extending his hand professionally. Hector Reyes, MBA from Stanford, 10 years in digital marketing consulting. Your daughter is one of the most talented strategists I've ever worked with. Mom ignored his hand. This is ridiculous. Margaret, gather your things. We're going home to discuss this. No, we're not. I walked around the desk to stand between them. I have a client meeting to prepare for. You can either accept that I'm running my own business now, or you can leave. Your choice. The phone on my desk rang. I answered it on speaker, maintaining eye contact with Mom. Empower Digital. This is Margaret speaking. Ms. Emerson, this is Janet from TechFront Solutions. We'd like to double our original contract proposal. Your preliminary campaign results are extraordinary. Mom's mouth fell open as I handled the call professionally, scheduling a meeting for the following week. After I hung up, the silence in the office was deafening. How? Mom's voice cracked. How are you funding this? That's not your concern anymore." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Is this why there have been unusual transactions in your account? Have you been diverting money into this scheme?" "I've been investing in my future," I corrected her. "Now, if you'll excuse us, we have work to do." Mom stood there for a long moment, her hands clenching and unclenching. Finally, she turned and walked out, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. After the door closed, Hector let out a low whistle. "Well, that was intense." "It's not over," I said, sinking back into my chair. "She's going to dig into everything now. Try to find where the money's coming from." "Let her dig." Hector pulled up our latest analytics report. "By the time she figures it out, we'll be too successful for her to do anything about it." I nodded, turning back to our work. The confrontation I'd been dreading had come and gone, and I was still standing. More than standing, I was thriving. For the first time in my life, I felt truly powerful. The real question was, what would Mom do next? "Your credit score dropped 20 points, Mom announced at breakfast, waving her iPad like a weapon. I just checked. "You're monitoring my credit score?" I kept my voice level, buttering my toast with deliberate calm. 3 days had passed since her office invasion, and she'd been relentless. "Someone has to watch out for your financial health. You've been making some concerning decisions lately." "My credit score is fine, Mom, and it's none of your business." "Everything about you is my business." She sat down across from me. "I raised you, supported you, guided you." "Controlled me," I muttered. The doorbell rang before she could respond. Through the window, I saw Soleil's car in the driveway. "Perfect timing," I said, grabbing my bag. "I'm having breakfast with Soleil." "But we're not finished discussing." "Yes, we are." I opened the door to find Soleil already reaching for me. "Emergency," she announced dramatically. "Fashion crisis. Need my cousin's expert eye." Mom appeared behind me. "Margaret has a doctor's appointment at 11. "No, I don't," I said, stepping outside. "Yes, you do. I scheduled it last week. Dr. Harrison wants to discuss your anxiety medication." I spun around. "You what?" "I'm concerned about your recent behavior, the secretiveness, the reckless business decisions." "The only thing causing me anxiety is you," I snapped. "Cancel the appointment. I'm not going." In Soleil's car, I slumped against the seat. "She's trying to make me look unstable. She's trying to maintain control," Soleil corrected, pulling away from the curb. "But we've got bigger problems. Look what came in the mail yesterday." She handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter from my mother's bank, addressed to her, requesting verification of some recent transfers. "How did you get this?" "Mom's still on their mailing list from when she worked there. She showed it to me because she's worried about Aunt Roslyn." The bank flagged some suspicious patterns in her accounts. "She's been searching for the money," I realized, "trying to trace where I got the startup funds. And she's getting sloppy." Soleil turned into the office parking lot. "You need to move faster." Inside, Hector was already in crisis mode. The investors called. Someone reached out to them with concerns about our company's stability. "Let me guess, my mother. She implied you might be having a mental health crisis and shouldn't be trusted with major financial decisions." I dropped into my chair, rage building. "She's trying to sabotage us." "It gets worse," Hector said. "She's been calling our clients." "What?" He pulled up an email. "TechFront Solutions received a call from someone claiming to be your financial advisor, warning them about potential irregularities in our business practices." That's it. I grabbed my phone, but Soleil caught my wrist. "Don't confront her, not yet. We need to handle this professionally." "Agreed," Hector said. "I've already contacted our lawyer. We're sending cease and desist letters to protect the company." My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "Dr. Harrison is concerned you missed your appointment. Coming to the office to check on you." "She's on her way here," I warned. "Perfect." Hector pulled out a folder. "Because I have something to show her." When Mom arrived 15 minutes later, we were ready. She burst in without knocking, waving a stack of papers. "Margaret, we need to discuss these transactions." "Actually," Hector interrupted, We need to discuss your interference with our business. He slid a document across the desk. This is a cease and desist letter. Contact our clients again, and we'll take legal action. Mom's face reddened. How dare you threaten me? I'm trying to protect my daughter from what? I stood up. From success, from independence, from the truth about how you've been hiding my money for years. She froze. What are you talking about? The secret account, Mom. I know about all of it. That money is for your future, she sputtered. I've been protecting it for you. No, you've been stealing it from me. And now you're trying to destroy everything I've built because you can't control it. I'm calling your father, she threatened, reaching for her phone. Go ahead. Tell him how you've been embezzling from your own daughter. I'm sure he'd love to hear all about it. Mom's hand dropped. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice steady. You're going to stop interfering with my business. You're going to stop monitoring my accounts. And you're going to transfer every penny of my money back to me. Or what? I smiled, channeling her own cold authority. Or everyone, Dad, the family, your precious social circle, learns exactly what kind of mother you really are. She stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked out without another word. That was badass, Soleil whispered, but Hector looked worried. You know this isn't over, right? Oh, I know, I said, watching Mom's car pull away. This is just the beginning. The annual family dinner was Mom's power play, her chance to showcase her perfect life and perfect daughter. This year, she'd invited everyone despite our ongoing Cold War. I knew why. Appearances mattered more than anything. Margaret, you're not wearing that, are you? Mom eyed my professional pantsuit as I helped set the table. What's wrong with it? That blue dress I bought you would be more appropriate. This is fine, Mom. I placed the last fork with precise alignment, one of her many lessons I couldn't shake. The doorbell rang, and the performance began. Aunt Claire, Uncle Robert, Soleil, and various other relatives filtered in, carrying dishes and forced smiles. Everyone knew something was wrong between Mom and me, but no one dared mention it. Margaret, darling. Aunt Claire air-kissed my cheeks. How's that little business of yours going? Before I could answer, Mom jumped in. Oh, she's just doing some freelance work, nothing serious. Actually, I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, Empower Digital just landed 3 major corporate clients. We're expanding next month. The room went quiet. Mom's smile tightened. How wonderful, Aunt Claire said, looking between us uncertainly. Isn't it? I pulled out my phone. In fact, our latest campaign just went viral. Want to see? Perhaps during dessert, Mom interrupted. Dinner's getting cold. We settled around the dining room table, Mom's perfect tableau of family harmony. She'd placed me directly across from her, where she could monitor every bite, every gesture. So Robert, Mom said, passing the potatoes, how's the investment firm? Uncle Robert launched into a story about market trends, but I caught Mom watching me as I typed something on my phone under the table. Margaret, she said sharply, no phones at dinner, you know the rules. Sorry, just confirming a meeting with our investors tomorrow. They're very excited about our growth projections. Soleil, sitting beside me, poorly concealed her smirk. Investors? Dad looked up from his plate. You never mentioned investors, Rosalind. Because there's nothing to mention, Mom said quickly. Margaret's just experimenting with some online marketing work. Nothing serious enough for investors. Nothing serious. I set down my fork. Our company valuation just hit 7 figures. The clatter of silverware stopped. Dad's eyebrows shot up. 7 figures? He repeated. How did you manage that so quickly? Yes, Margaret. Mom's voice could have frozen water. How did you manage that? Hard work, smart investments, and complete control over my own finances. I met her gaze steadily. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you have access to your own money. Mom's wine glass trembled slightly as she lifted it. I don't think this is appropriate dinner conversation. Why not? Isn't financial success something to celebrate? I turned to the table at large. In fact, I've learned so much about money management recently. Would anyone like to hear about the importance of maintaining transparent banking relationships? Margaret. Mom's warning tone was familiar, but it had lost its power. Or we could discuss the legal implications of unauthorized account management. That's enough? Mom slammed her hand on the table, making the plates jump. Roslyn. Dad was looking between us, confusion turning to concern. What's going on? Nothing, she said. Margaret's just being dramatic. Am I? I pulled an envelope from my bag and slid it across the table to Dad. These are bank statements showing how Mom's been hiding my earnings for years. Almost $400,000 in a secret account. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. Dad opened the envelope with shaking hands. Roslyn, is this true? Mom stood up, her chair scraping back. I was protecting her, making sure she didn't waste her money on foolish things like this ridiculous business venture. The business venture that's already more successful than anything you ever achieved. The words were cruel, but I couldn't stop them. Face it, Mom, you're not protecting me. You're controlling me, and it's over. How dare you speak to me like that? She turned to the stunned family members. Can't you see what's happening? She's turned against me, her own mother. No, Mom. You turned against me the moment you decided I couldn't be trusted with my own life. Soleil squeezed my hand under the table as Mom stormed out of the dining room. The sound of her heels on the stairs echoed through the silent house. Dad stared at the bank statements, his face ashen. I had no idea. I know, Dad. I stood up, gathering my things. But now everyone does. As I walked out, leaving the wreckage of Mom's perfect family dinner behind, I heard Aunt Claire whisper, just like her mother, always has to be in control. But she was wrong. I wasn't like my mother at all. I was something she never expected me to be. Free. The letter arrived 3 days after the disastrous family dinner. Heavy cream paper, Mom's precise handwriting on the envelope. I opened it at my desk while Hector watched with concern. Dear Margaret, I read aloud. I've transferred the full amount from the secondary account back to your primary account. I trust this resolves any misunderstandings between us. We can discuss your temporary emotional state when you're feeling more rational. Love, Mother. Hector whistled. Temporary emotional state. Classic Mom. She still thinks she can spin this. I crumpled the letter and threw it in the trash. But at least she returned the money. My phone rang. Dad's number. I put it on speaker. Hey, Dad. Margaret, we need to talk about your mother. His voice sounded tired. She's not eating, barely sleeping. Says she's lost her daughter. She lost me the moment she decided to steal from me. She says she was investing it for your future. Dad, stop defending her. I shared a look with Hector, who nodded encouragingly. Did you know she's been calling my clients, trying to sabotage my business? A long pause. She mentioned being concerned about your company's stability. The company that's about to close $1 million deal? I pulled up our latest contract on my screen. The one that's been featured in 3 business magazines this month? I don't understand how things got so bad between you two. Ask her about the doctor's appointment she tried to force me into. Ask her about monitoring my credit score, my phone, my entire life. Better yet, ask her why she really kept that money hidden. The office door opened, and Soleil burst in, waving her phone. You need to see this. Dad, I have to go. Just think about what I said. I hung up and turned to Soleil. What's wrong? She thrust her phone at me. On the screen was a social media post from Mom. Heartbroken mother seeking advice. My daughter has fallen under the influence of manipulative business partners. How do I protect her from herself? The post had hundreds of comments, mostly from her country club friends and social circle, all sympathizing with her plight. She's trying to control the narrative, Hector said, reading over my shoulder. Look at the comments. Soleil scrolled down. Poor Roslyn, such a devoted mother. These young people think they know everything. Maybe she needs professional help. My hands shook with rage. She's making me look unstable, setting up her defense in case I go public with what she did. The phone on my desk rang. Our biggest potential client. Ms. Emerson, we've received some concerning information about your company's background. I put on my most professional voice. What kind of information? Well, someone claiming to be your mother called our board. She raised questions about your mental state and financial reliability. I muted the phone. Hector, get me the latest campaign metrics. Soleil, the press coverage files. Unmuting. I understand your concerns. Please allow me to email you our current performance data, press coverage, and client testimonials. Would you also like to schedule a video call with our entire team? 20 minutes later, crisis averted. I slumped in my chair. She's not going to stop, Soleil said quietly. No, she's not. I sat up straight, decision made. Which is why we're going to end this, once and for all. What are you thinking? Hector asked. Mom's birthday gala is next week, the biggest social event of her year. Everyone who matters to her will be there. Soleil's eyes widened. You wouldn't. I would. And I will. I pulled up my email. Time to RSVP yes to that party invitation. Margaret, Hector said carefully. Are you sure? This could get ugly. It's already ugly. But Mom's playing by old rules. Whispered rumors, social manipulation, careful appearances. I'm going to change the game. I drafted a quick email to our lawyer. Need to discuss options for full financial disclosure at a public event. She'll never forgive you, Soleil warned. I'm not looking for forgiveness. I'm looking for freedom. And sometimes, I hit send on the email. Freedom comes at a price. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Delighted you'll attend my birthday celebration. Wear the blue dress. It's more appropriate than your business attire. I showed it to Soleil and Hector. One last time, she's trying to dress me up like her perfect doll. So what are you going to wear? Soleil asked. I smiled, thinking of the power suit I'd just bought. Crimson red, sharp as a blade. Something unforgettable. Because this time, when I walked into one of Mom's perfect parties, I wouldn't be playing the role she'd assigned me. I'd be playing by my own rules, and the grand finale would be one her precious social circle would never forget. The country club ballroom sparkled with Mom's signature perfectionism. Crystal chandeliers, white roses, and champagne flowing freely. I stood at the entrance, the red power suit drawing disapproving glances from her social circle. Margaret, Mom's voice carried across the room. You didn't wear the dress I suggested. Happy birthday, Mom. I kissed her cheek, feeling her stiffen at the contact. Don't worry, I'm dressed perfectly for my presentation. Presentation? Her smile faltered. There's no presentation on the schedule. There is now. I nodded to Hector, who was setting up a laptop and projector at the side of the room. Whatever you're planning. She grabbed my arm, fingers digging in. Don't you dare make a scene at my party. You mean like the scene you made calling my clients? Or posting about my mental state on social media? Her fingers released me as other guests approached. Rosalind, darling. Mrs. Peterson air-kissed Mom's cheeks. What a lovely evening. Though I'm surprised you're allowing business presentations at your birthday celebration. Oh, she's not allowing anything, I said sweetly. This is happening whether she likes it or not. I walked away, leaving Mom to damage control. Soleil met me by the bar, looking stunning in a black cocktail dress. Everything's ready, she whispered. Dad's here too. I spotted him across the room, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. He caught my eye and gave a small nod. After our last phone call, I'd sent him copies of everything. The bank statements, Mom's interference with my business, all of it. Ladies and gentlemen, Hector's voice carried through the sound system. If I could have your attention, please. The crowd turned, champagne glasses in hand. Mom stood frozen by the roses, her perfect mask slipping. As many of you know, I took the microphone. My mother has always been passionate about financial education. about teaching the value of money management. Appreciative murmurs from the crowd. Mom took a step forward, but Soleil smoothly intercepted her. So tonight, I'd like to share some lessons I've learned about money. I clicked to the first slide, a bank statement showing the hidden account. Lesson 1. Always know where your money is going, even if someone else is hiding it from you. Gasps rippled through the room. Mom's face went white. For those in the back, this is an account containing nearly $400,000 of my earnings, money that was redirected without my knowledge or consent. Margaret, stop this immediately. Mom's voice shook. Lesson 2, I continued, clicking to the next slide. Screenshots of her social media posts and emails to my clients. Be careful who you trust with your financial information. Some people might use it against you. Is this true, Roslyn? Mrs. Peterson's voice cut through the murmurs. Did you really hide her money? I was protecting her. Mom surged forward. She wasn't ready to manage it herself. Really? I clicked again, showing our company's latest valuation. Because in just 3 months, that unstable daughter you're so worried about built this, a 7-figure company, without your help or permission. The room erupted in whispers. I saw Dad put his head in his hands. Lesson 3, success is the best revenge. I turned directly to Mom. You can't control me anymore. Not my money, not my business, not my life. How dare you? Mom grabbed the microphone. After everything I've done for you. You mean everything you've done to me? I yanked the microphone back. You didn't protect me, you imprisoned me. Every dollar I earned, every decision I made, had to go through you. Well, guess what? I'm done. Margaret, please. She reached for me, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. You're my daughter. I love you. No, Mom. You love controlling me. There's a difference. I turned back to the stunned crowd. Final lesson. Sometimes the people who claim to protect you are the ones you need protection from. Clicking to the last slide, I displayed the transfer receipt from the hidden account. Thank you, Mom, for returning my money. Consider it your birthday gift to me. Financial freedom. The room was dead silent. Mom stood there, mascara running, as her perfect world crumbled around her. Oh, and one more thing. I pulled an envelope from my suit pocket. This is a restraining order. Stay away from my business. Stay away from my clients. Stay away from me. I placed it on the gift table and walked toward the exit. As I passed Dad, he grabbed my hand. Was this necessary? He whispered. Yes, I said firmly. It was. At the door, I turned back one last time. Mom had collapsed into a chair, her society friends awkwardly patting her shoulders while shooting scandalized glances my way. Happy birthday, Mom, I called out. Thanks for teaching me everything I know about control. Then I walked out into the night, leaving the wreckage of her perfect party behind me, feeling lighter than I had in 27 years. The morning after the party, I sat in my office, watching the sun rise over the city. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing with messages, mostly from relatives choosing sides in the aftermath. I ignored them all. The door opened, and Hector walked in with coffee. You're here early. Never left. I gestured to the couch where I'd spent the night. Didn't want to go home. About that, he handed me a coffee. Your dad's in the lobby. I nodded, not surprised. Send him up. Dad looked older than he had last night, his bow tie hanging loose around his neck like he hadn't bothered changing after the party. Your mother's a mess, he said without preamble. I know. She checked herself into a wellness center this morning. That I hadn't expected. Her choice or yours? Hers. He sat heavily in the chair across from my desk. She said she needs to understand why she did what she did, why she couldn't let you go. And what do you think? I think I failed you both. His voice cracked. I saw what was happening, the control, the manipulation, but I told myself she knew best, that she was protecting you. You weren't the only one she fooled. A knock at the door interrupted us. Soleil poked her head in. Sorry, but you need to see this. She handed me her tablet. On the screen was Mom's social media page. Her latest post read, To my daughter, I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better. She posted it an hour ago, Soleil said quietly. Dad leaned forward. What are you going to do? Work. I handed the tablet back to Soleil. I have a company to run. Margaret. No, Dad. I'm done with her games. Even her apologies are public performances. Then why are you crying? I touched my cheek, surprised to find it wet. Hector silently passed me a tissue. Because it hurts, I admitted. Because part of me still wants my mom. But I can't have her without the control, the manipulation, the constant need to own every piece of me. Maybe the wellness center will help, Dad suggested. Maybe. But I'm not putting my life on hold to find out. My computer chimed with an email notification. The $1 million contract, signed and finalized. Despite everything Mom had tried, we'd landed it. Speaking of life, I turned the screen to show Dad. Want to see what your daughter built? For the next hour, I walked him through our business model, our success stories, our growth plans. His eyes lit up with understanding and pride. You really did it, he said. Everything your mother said you couldn't do. We did it, Hector corrected, gesturing between us. As equals, no control, no manipulation, just trust and hard work. Dad stood up slowly. I should go check on your mother. Dad? I called as he reached the door. Tell her I'm okay, better than okay. And if she ever really wants to talk, not control, not manipulate, just talk, she knows where to find me. After he left, Soleil perched on my desk. You're not actually going to forgive her, are you? No, I said, turning to the window. But I'm not going to let her control me with guilt either. She made her choices. I made mine. Speaking of choices, Hector pulled up our calendar. The business magazine wants to interview you. Rising Star Under 30 feature. I smiled, thinking of Mom, reading that article in her wellness center. Schedule it. And the real estate agent called. Soleil added, that condo you liked is available. Perfect. I stood up, straightening my suit. Time to move out of Mom's house for good. You know what this means? Hector grinned. Housewarming party. With no assigned seating, Soleil added. No dress code, I continued. And definitely no financial lectures. We all said together, laughing. My phone buzzed one last time. Another message from Mom. I understand now why you did what you did. I hope someday you'll understand why I did what I did too. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled up our company's latest campaign draft. Ready to change some more lives? I asked my team. Always, they replied. And there it was, the truth I'd been fighting for all along. Success wasn't about proving Mom wrong. It was about proving myself right. About building something real, something mine, with people who supported me without trying to control me. I looked around my office, at Hector reviewing contracts, Soleil planning our next move, the city sprawling beyond my window full of possibilities, and felt truly, completely free. Not because I'd won the war with Mom, but because I'd finally stopped fighting it. This was my life now, my choices, my future, and it was beautiful.